Huh.
Watching Kyle's unboxing videos again?
Yeah, he always finds the coolest... No way! A robot dog? Gotta ask where he got it.
Or use your Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Just draw a circle around the dog on your screen, and it shows you where to buy it right in the app.
Oh, I just learned a new trick. And that for once, I beat Kyle to the next big thing.
Circle it, find it with the new Galaxy S24 Ultra and circle the search with Google. Get yours now at Samsung.com. Internet connection required. Results may vary based on visuals.
I'm Alex Rodriguez.
And I'm Jason Kelly.
From Bloomberg, this is The Deal. Each week, you'll hear us in conversation with business icons.
This show will explore deal-making across sports, media, and entertainment.
That is a harsh lesson in business.
Sports is not as simple as bringing a bunch of big names together.
I didn't want to do another stomp you out speech.
It opened up so many more doors.
The show is called The Deal.
Listen to The Deal.
Listen to The Deal on Spotify.
Hey there. Did you know Kroger always gives you savings and rewards on top of our lower-than-low prices? And when you download the Kroger app, you'll enjoy over $500 in savings every week with digital coupons. And don't forget fuel points to help you save up to $1 per gallon at the pump. Want to save even more? With a Boost membership, you'll get double fuel points and free delivery. So shop and save big at Kroger today. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Savings may vary by state. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Red, your lunchtime catch-up on all things Liverpool FC on a Friday, where we're just 2 days away from Liverpool playing Brighton in the Premier League, the return of real football and the beginning of the title race. Brighton up first at Anfield, a team that we have not beaten under their current manager, Roberto Zerbi. 4 games, 2 Brighton wins, 2 draws. That needs to change this weekend. We need to win this game. It is massive. With City playing Arsenal after we play this game, it is immensely important that we take 3 points here, go clear at the top, and then wait and see what happens in the other game. The ideal outcome in the other game, obviously, for us is a draw. I think the more likely outcome is a City win. I'm kind of favouring an Arsenal win, if I'm being completely honest. I feel like I'd rather go head-to-head with Arsenal across 9 games and have City 4 points behind us, especially given Arsenal have a harder run in than us. I'd rather go head-to-head with them. I know they've got a goal difference advantage on us. I think we can close that. I really do. But like I say, I think they'll slip up multiple times. Even if they beat City, I can see them slipping up. Remember, we played them last season in their 9th last game. They were 8 points clear, and they managed to throw it away. The year before, they were running away with 4th place, and they threw it away in the last 10 games. They've taken 15 points from their last 10 games in each of the last 2 seasons, 16.5 points from the last 10 games across the last 4 seasons. This is a team that wears down. They've also got Champions League to be concerning themselves with. Bayern Munich will be tough for them. Whereas we potentially have an easier run in the Europa League. They've got a very difficult run in the Champions League. A very, very difficult run. So I'd rather go head-to-head with them. So I'm sort of leaning towards an Arsenal win over City, because I'd rather have the advantage on City. I'd rather have 4 points on City than 1 point on City. But we'll wait and see. Big news last night. Xabi Alonso not under consideration to be the next Liverpool manager. He is going to stay at Bayer Leverkusen. I said all along, I thought that's what he would do. I think he does one more year there, and I think he takes the Real Madrid job. This, of course, has been greeted with really balanced reactions on Twitter and other social media outlets. Nobody is losing their mind. Nobody is reacting badly to this news. Nobody is treating this as if Jurgen is leaving. People are going absolutely... It's genuinely so funny. Like, I know he's having a great season. He absolutely is. But people are so reactionary. It's one season. And there's so many false narratives around it. Like, number one, the Bundesliga is garbage this year. Like, it is absolutely terrible. It was dreadful last year as well. Bayern, this is the weakest Bayern team since the mid-90s. Probably since the mid-90s. And it's the weakest Bundesliga in memory. Because at least when Bayern were bad before, there was another great team. Like when Bayern had a bit of a dip in the late 90s, in the late 2000s, there was a good Wolfsburg team, and then there was a really good Borussia Dortmund team under Jurgen Klopp. When Bayern had that dip in the 90s, there was a great Borussia Dortmund team that also won a European Cup. There were great Hamburg teams across the years, great Gladbach teams across the years. But right now, there isn't a great team other than what Leverkusen are doing. So the league is terrible. But it's still really impressive to be going unbeaten. That's the more impressive part. But at the same time, it's only a couple of years since somebody else was going unbeaten through a league campaign, winning a league title, and being absolutely crowned the next Liverpool manager. And then he took the Aston Villa job and got exposed when he didn't have a weak league to contend with. So with Alonso, like the thing for me with Alonso has always been, I need to see how you work in adversity, because it's not all going to be plain sailing at Liverpool. It's just not. The Premier League is a completely different animal to the Bundesliga. And we have no idea how Alonso would react to a run of 2 or 3 defeats in a row, to a massive injury crisis, to having one of his important players sold. We don't know how that would work for him, because he hasn't done it yet. There's also this notion that, he took them over. They were 16th. They'd finished 3rd the year before. They're like 8 games into the next season, league-wise. They're just on a bad run. They were still a really good team, just having a really bad run. So he didn't take over some relegation scrappers. He took over a good team that had finished 3rd a few months before he got there. Then there was the notion, and this is my favourite one, that he played a back 3 there to adapt to the players that he has. It's complete horseshit. Leverkusen got 3rd playing a back 4. They'd rarely played a back 5 under the previous manager or the fella before him. They'd been a back 4 team for a long time. He changed them to a back 3. And the notion that he did it because it's what suited the players also isn't true. Because last season he didn't have anybody good enough to play regularly as a left wing back. And he was using Piero Hincapié in that position, who's a centre-back by nature. Then he doubled down in the summer and bought players specifically to play a back 3. And you know why he did that? Because he's a back 3 manager. And when he was at Real Sociedad, when he had real success with the Sociedad B team, he was using a back 3. He wasn't playing a back 4. He wasn't adapting to his players. he was putting them in the shape he prefers. So he would have been coming to Anfield and most likely putting in a back three. So the idea that it's a knock on Amorim that he's a back three manager, but Alonso was going to come in and just play the same way as Klopp, utter horseshit. But he's now off the board, staying at Leverkusen, and like I say, I bet he will go to Real in 12 months. And the thing is, it doesn't, people have said, oh, it's a risk. What if it goes badly? It doesn't matter. If he wins the league this year, he could finish 11th next season, and it's not going to knock his reputation. He's still going to get the Real Madrid job. What this gives him is an opportunity to go and prove himself in the Champions League and see what that's like. What it means for us is that Ruben Amorim, Roberto De Zerbi, potentially Nagelsmann, and maybe Thiago Motta are now the choices. Now, Amorim, we've talked about at length. I think he's clearly the best choice. I think he's been the best choice since day one. It wouldn't surprise me if he'd been the number one choice all along. The Alonso stuff was largely a creation of social media and guessing journalists, not based on any real insight or news. Amorim would tick more boxes than Alonso, having managed for longer, having had more success, having a better track record of player development, having worked through adversity, having had to rebuild a team that won a league title and now being on course to win a second league title. Amorim would tick more boxes than Alonso, other than the, of course, very important what he played for us box, which seemingly is the be-all and end-all for people. The emotional connection. Fucking emotional connection. What emotional connection did you have to Klopp? What did he have to Liverpool before he got here? None. Not a bit. What did Rafa have? None. Not a bit. Even Houllier, when he first arrived, nobody mentioned any emotional connection. He let that be known afterwards, when he was already in the job. So the emotional connection stuff is nonsense. Managers build their own emotional connection and they connect with the fans themselves. Jurgen built that with the fans. He didn't walk in with it. And Amorim has shown at Sporting that he can very quickly connect with the fans and very, very quickly connect with his players. De Zerbi is an interesting one. And I've seen the usual nonsense from people that, well, he's massively flawed. Is he? Massively flawed. I do agree his team lacks balance, but so do we. But we get away with it because we've got Virgil and Ibu and generally Alisson. If those three played for Brighton, Brighton would be a top 4 team. If Jason Steele, Lewis Dunk and Jean-Paul Van Hecke played for us, we'd be 6th or 7th. Because individuals make up for a lack of balance. They're 8th. They're Brighton, right? First and foremost, they're Brighton. They're 8th in the league. They finished top of their group in Europe in their first ever adventure in Europe. They've had a couple of decent cup runs, including a cup semi-final last year. They finished 6th last year. Roberto De Zerbi, if he leaves this summer, will have had the 2 best seasons in Brighton and Hove Albion history. Not even debatable that he'll have had the 2 best seasons in Brighton and Hove Albion history. Even if they only finish 9th or 10th, he'll have had the 2 best seasons in Brighton and Hove Albion history. So I saw a tweet earlier that he's 12 months from the sack. Utter nonsense. Absolute garbage. If he wants to stay there for the next 5 years, they'd love to keep him. Someone said, the same person said, Potter did better at Brighton than De Zerbi. Potter finished 16th, 15th, and 9th. Never got them anywhere close to Europe. Never got past the 5th round of a domestic cup. De Zerbi finished 6th and got to a cup semi-final, got them into Europe, topped a group, and has them 8th. How on earth, in what way did Potter do better? Oh, they were 4th when De Zerbi took over. We're 6 games into the season. The table's meaningless after 6 games. Rafa had Everton 4th after 5 or 6 games when he took over. Meaningless. Couldn't matter less if you wanted to. Utter tripe. Ignoring all the injuries they've had is my favourite one. Acting like he's had his full... Now, look, he does have a bit of a fascination with Dross. He plays too many bad players. Milner, Lallana, Welbeck, Steele, Dross. But we don't have that issue here.
I'm Alex Rodriguez.
And I'm Jason Kelly.
From Bloomberg, this is The Deal. Each week, you'll hear us in conversation with business icons.
This show will explore deal-making across sports, media, and entertainment.
That is a harsh lesson in business.
Sports is not as simple as bringing a bunch of big names together.
I didn't want to do another stomp you out speech.
It opened up so many more doors.
The show is called
The Deal.
Listen to The Deal.
Listen to The Deal on Spotify.
The delicious ice-cold taste of Dr. Pepper has a lasting effect on people. Lindsay from Sacramento said,
Pro tip, 40 degrees is the perfect temperature for an ice-cold Dr. Pepper.
Why is 40 degrees the perfect temperature for Dr. Pepper? We brought in Sue from Duluth, Minnesota to tell us.
Oh, yeah, I know a thing or two about cold. Oh, that right there is the perfect kind of ice cold for Dr. Pepper. I'd share that with my friend Nancy. She likes Dr. Pepper, too, you know. My cold
All right, that'll be all, Sue. Having a perfect temperature for your Dr. Pepper? It's a Pepper thing. Inspired by real fan posts.
Hello there. Have you ever found yourself getting ready to watch the Liverpool match? You've got your mates round, you've got your drinks, you've got your snacks. You're all set to go. It's going to be a good day. And then you find out, oh, the game's not actually being broadcast in your region. There's the heartbreak. There's rage. There's despair. There's fury. You're upset. You're looking for a solution. Well, we've teamed up with NordVPN to bring you a game-changing solution. That's right. With NordVPN, you can switch your virtual location to a country where the game's on live. It's like having a global ticket to sports, TV shows, and movies from all around the world. And here's the best part. If you go to nordvpn.com/Anfield Index, you'll score the best discount on your NordVPN plan. Plus, our link gives you 4 extra months free on the 2-year plan. And that's what we call a winning streak. And if you're sitting there and you're thinking, what if it's not for me? What if I don't like it? What if I'm not getting the use of it? Don't worry about it. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so it's totally risk-free. I've been using NordVPN to catch all the Liverpool matches and TV shows that I'd normally miss out on. It's totally transformed both my weekends and my TV watching. And not only that, not only does it give me access to stuff from all around the world with the click of a button, it keeps all my data safe. It means that the miscreants, the ne'er-do-wells, what my grandmother would have called scallywags, who lurk on the internet to try and steal your information, can't get to your information. NordVPN keeps it safe for you. So don't let geo-restrictions bench you this season. Visit nordvpn.com/Anfield Index and make sure that you're in the game, no matter when or where it's being played. Remember, it's not just sports, it's your all-access pass to binge-worthy TV shows and blockbuster movies from all around the globe. NordVPN literally unlocks the world for you and keeps you safe from the world. So don't miss out. Head over to nordvpn.com/Anfield Index and let the fun and games begin. But look at the injuries they've been dealing with this season. Veltman played half the season. Estupinan missed half the season. Solly March has missed the majority of the season. Matoma has missed most of the season. And Ciso missed most of the season. They're all guys that were starting for him regularly last year. And on top of that, they lost Alexis McAllister and Moises Caicedo and Levi Colwill from last year's team. So their best defender, best centre-back, and their midfield, all gone. And people are surprised that their league form has dipped a little bit. Mindless nonsense. I don't think people think when they talk about these things. I don't think they actually look at who he's managing. He's managing Brighton. 8 is great for them. Their fans are delighted with themselves. This is the 3rd year ever that they finished in the top half of the top flight. And the top 2 are going to be him. Yes, there are flaws. Yes, sometimes his attack breaks down this season. Last season, it rarely did. But last season, he had Estupiñán, Mitoma, and Enciso for most of the year. And Enciso was a game breaker that he could introduce off the bench, or when he found form, would start behind the striker. Solly March was playing out of his mind last year and scoring goals. And you had Enciso, or you had Mitoma and Estupiñán down that left side. This year, he hasn't had any of that, because the injuries for Estupiñán and Mitoma didn't overlap. They were at different times. I'd love to have it to hand, but I'd imagine Estupiñán and Mitoma probably played 6, maybe 7 Premier League games together this season. Last season, they were together most of the year, and they were sensational. That was the best left side in the Premier League last year. And with them tearing people apart, with Enciso operating as the second striker, and Evan Ferguson making a name for himself, plus Solly March coming in off the other side for back post tap-ins and to be involved in the second phase build-up. They were just unbelievable. Plus Alexis and Moises Caicedo. You've taken away the heart and soul of that team. You've taken away the attacking thrust of that team, and people are surprised that they're not quite as good. It's a remarkable thing. Like, when Jurgen has a bad year, as he has in 2 of the last 4 seasons, counting this one, people just look at the reasons and say, oh, there's the reason. Last year, why did he have a bad year? Because the midfield was crap. Because certain senior players didn't perform well. It was all the players' fault. (2021), well, that was all injuries. Wasn't bad planning. Nothing like that. Wasn't hanging on to players for too long. There were just excuses made. But yet, when we look at other managers at other clubs, we just overlook the actual issues and the reasons. Yes, part of it is Zerbi. Yes, he's a little bit too stubborn. Yes, his style of football is a little bit imbalanced. And yes, he has a fascination or a fetish for dross. But what about all the other issues? Losing 3 of your best players and not really replacing them. I mean, they brought in Igor Julio to replace Caldwell. That's like me going to your house, taking away your Ferrari and leaving you with a Ford Mondeo. It's decent, but it's not as good as what you had. Same thing with taking out Alexis McAllister, replacing him with Billy Gilmore. Again, I've come to your house, I've taken your Range Rover, and in its place, I've left a Land Rover Discovery electric. Good car, does a job, not as good as what you had. Suppose I should have used Toyota Land Cruiser rather than Range Rover, because Range Rovers, they're actually a bit shit. They're just overpriced tat, really. They're for people that don't really know anything about cars, but I was trying to be fancy. And then, Caicedo. Take him out of the team. I think Baliba is going to be really good, but he's really raw, really young, 19. So, yeah, in a year or 2, he might be as good as Moises Caicedo was for them. But he's certainly not going to be as good straight away as Caicedo was last year. And then you factor in all the injuries. Like, he's been working with a fairly weak hand this year, and yet they're still 8th. They still play some of the most exciting football in the league. And yes, they went on a long run without winning a game. But look at the players. Look at who he was playing in those games. Like, we can't sit here and say, Christ, it was tough watching Milner last season, and then act like it hasn't been tough watching Milner for them this season. Just can't do it. There's a lot of merit to a De Zerbi appointment. Now, I will say, he needs to tip in the hair. Like, you can't be spiking your hair at 44 or whatever you are and coming to Liverpool. You just can't. I'm not against the idea of appointing Roberto De Zerbi. He plays a sensational brand of football. He develops players really well. I'd be happy enough if he's the choice. But only if we've approached Amorim first and he said no, which I don't think he would. I think those two are the ones that make the most sense for us. Amorim 1, De Zerbi 2. Outside of them, I mean, Nagelsmann just not for me. Just can't be with him. Watching him play is like watching that Liverpool versus Aston Villa FA Cup semi-final when Rodgers was in charge. And we played about 7 different formations. That's a frequent thing with Julian Nagelsmann. There's been frequent complaints from players that have worked under him that they didn't understand what he was trying to get across to them. I think in his head, he knows exactly what he wants. I just don't think he's very good at getting it across. There hasn't been many positive reports on him either out of Leipzig or Bayern. And let's be honest, like, he was brought to Bayern to win a European Cup and they weren't going to win a European Cup. So yeah, everybody wins the league title at Bayern. Everybody. So he failed at Bayern. He was brought to Leipzig to win the league, didn't do it. Never even came close. Never even came close. So it's just not for me. I don't think he's got the personality for a club like ours. I also would point out that he's managing Germany and the Euros run till the 14th of July. We can't wait for him. We can't wait to have a manager take over in mid-July. You just can't do it. And he's going to be coming in off the back of the Euros. Like, that's not going to work. It's not going to work at all. So I don't think he's actually going to be given much consideration. Malta's really interesting. The brand of football is actually really, really good. There's real balance to the team. Now, there is a lack of quality which can cause them problems. But, I mean, they're 4th in Serie A with Bologna. That's very, very impressive. People have mentioned Inzaghi. He doesn't speak English, and I don't get the feeling that the impression that he really wants to leave Italian football. I certainly don't think he wants to leave Inter. Some people have said Conte. He's out of work. He's a winner. He's done well everywhere except Spurs, which may well be a poison chalice. I wouldn't be against it. Everybody knows my feelings on Simeone, but I don't think he'd take it because I don't think he wants to work in England. I'd love Abel Ferreira to be given consideration, but I don't think he will be. Who else is there? Zidane. Zidane is interesting and certainly warrants consideration. I did a pod on him months back as to why he warrants consideration. I mean, to just dismiss what he did at Real is incredibly silly. He won 3 European Cups in a row. But you know how hard that is? Name the managers who've gone back-to-back in the Champions League since it became the Champions League. There's one name. It's Zinedine Zidane. Back-to-back. Forget 3 in a row. He's the only one that went back-to-back since the Champions League, since the European Cup became the Champions League. This notion that he had the best squad ever assembled or second best is garbage. No, he didn't. No, he didn't at all. He had a really good team, like a really, really good team. But it's not one of the 5 best squads ever assembled. The squad they're assembling now is better than the squad they had then. They're probably 4 players away from having a near perfect squad. 2 of them might already be signed. And if those 2 are signed, Alphonso Davies and Mbappe, then for me, this squad is better than that one in terms of the overall squad, not just the starting 11. So Zidane is worth a look. But again, I don't know if he did have any interest. There was rumours that he did, rumours that he was interested, but who knows? Outside of that, Graham Potter shouldn't get a look in. He'd be another Rodgers. I'm not really sure who else there'd be. But I think we're going to see more and more movement. I think by the end of April, we'll know who it's going to be. I'd be fairly certain that it'll be decided by the end of April. Maybe not announced, because whoever it's going to be is likely one of the 2, De Zerbi and Amorim, and they've still got commitments with their current clubs until the end of the season. So it may well just be that they've make a decision, make an agreement, get everything, signed up, signed away, and then pay whatever release clause come the end of the season. De Zerbi's is 17 million, not the 30 that was been banded about. And I think, Amorim's is 17 million, not the 30 that was banded about. Amorim, De Zerbi's, I think, is 12 million. I think that was what I read, but maybe it's more. On AnfieldIndex.com, there is a piece about Ruben Amorim being the obvious choice for Liverpool. I'm glad that my message is finally getting across to many others now. That's a good piece from Dave Davis. Liverpool star set for potential return. That's about Curtis Jones. There's a piece about Liverpool players during the international break. Piece about Chris Bascombe on the talking about the Liverpool manager's job. Stephen Smith has done a preview for the game against Brighton. And then podcast-wise, there's a new Under Pressure. If you haven't heard it, please do. There is the new Stat Me Up. It is Dave Davis and Ben Boxack. Very, very good, as always. Dave and Trev were together to do part 2 of their Big Decisions podcast. And there is the new Scouted for Brighton. There is a rival recon also coming today for the Brighton game. So make sure you check that out. And I'll just check and see if there's anything else. No, that I think that is it. But then we'll have post-match Raw. I'm sure Dave Davis will have something over the weekend. He generally does. And then we'll have post-match Raw after Brighton. It's myself, Trev, and I'm not sure who. But I know myself and Trev are on. And so lots to listen to, lots to do. Hopefully we'll be back Monday. No, we won't be back Monday because Monday's the bank holiday for Easter. So back Tuesday, hopefully celebrating the Reds being top of the league again. Because I've missed saying it, Have a good weekend. Enjoy Easter. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter @Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.